Welcome back to Kryptolytix, giving you a fresh take on crypto analytics. And this is your crypto recap, where I cover some of the things going on in the crypto space. So let's jump in. Okay, so here we are. Going to start off on the Bitcoin cycle chart today. And well, we've had a red couple days to start off the week. We're about halfway through the week at the time of recording this. And the main thing that we are looking at the moment, I guess, is the FOMC meeting. Now, that is typically a point where we do actually sell off generally leading up to that. So, bearish price action leading into the FOMC is very typical, as a lot of people probably don't want to get sucked into the volatility in terms of price action leading up to that event, and then often will jump back in afterwards. And you can even see here, there's this Gumshoe post, and there's a couple of others as well, that this potentially is just a scam dump, right? So again, if we have a look here, the pattern seems to be about 10% drops leading into the FOMC meeting, right? So Bitcoin dumped 10% in the 48 hours before, all of them. We have only got 4%, and if we wanted to measure out roughly where we would go, that would be about 65K, right? So 65K would be that from the most recent peak. Even though we're still bullish above that technically, it seems like sentiment's taken a really bad hit. And I think that's probably because altcoins have come down drastically compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's gone down a bit, but some of the altcoin charts look a lot more kind of devastating than what Bitcoin does. So Bitcoin's still above its bull market support band, sitting currently at around 62K. So again, anything above that, still bull market territory. And we're still above the SMMA VWAP band as well. So again, like when we're above that, that's technically bull market. But yeah, I mean, if you look at Fear and Greed Index, it's at 72, which is a very big surprise. It just doesn't feel like that on crypto Twitter. I think it feels like sentiment's a lot lower than that. So I'm not sure what metrics are used for this, but I think this is probably not a good reflection of, where we're at. But again, I wouldn't worry too much because, history, doesn't necessarily repeat, but it often rhymes. The rhyme would be Bitcoin FOMC local low formation if we were to do the same sort of thing. And even Ben Cowan here, the last two FOMCs marked local lows for Bitcoin. So there it is there. And here we are again dumping into the FOMC meeting. So just keeps happening time and time again. Look at this, not a bad bottom there. This low here would have been a really good buying opportunity. And are we going to get another one? That's the question on everyone's mind. And I guess it also depends on, what happens at the FOMC. If there's a rate cut, which I think the probability of a rate cut's kind of gone for now. But nevertheless, if there's a rate cut, then that'll be even more fuel for a push to the upside. But anyway, just looking at the cycle chart, essentially, we're back in the green zone on the stochastic RSI, which it means that we've gone back down. We've crossed back across in the low area here on the stochastic RSI. So we've got a crisscross, and we haven't had one of those, I think, for quite some time, since December 22. So we actually haven't had one of these. But again, we aren't at the end of the week, right? So these could easily fan back apart and move back up if by the end of the week we push back to the upside. But nevertheless, we'll just have to really see, because by the end of the week we might start looking a lot better again. So things like this will probably disappear off the chart, because this requires a weekly candle close in order to confirm that we're back into being sold off again. But anyway, everything still looks bullish overall. Doesn't feel it, but when you just look at zoom out and you have a look, it still looks bullish really overall. And if I have a look here at this PSAR chart, we did get a bearish divergence here, so slightly higher high here on price action, but the RSI is lower. So I did mention that I took profit here in my last video, and I'm looking to re-enter. Now, I actually did rebuy back some of what I took profit here, but I think I plan on trying to snipe this 65K level, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm still pretty bullish above there. And then I'll be a bit more cautious below there, but we'll see what kind of volatility the FOMC meeting brings, because it might just go create these crazy wicks. So we'll have to see what happens. Of course, I did get more indications and signals to add to a Bitcoin short that I've been building for quite some time. It's a small position, as I said, compared to my long position, but yeah, so I added to it there. So that's up at the moment, but that's neither here nor there. I guess we did get the bear moon if you're into the moon cycle. So we got the bear moon here, and so yeah, that's another thing that could be contributing to the sort of bearish price action that we've seen. But all trend meters I've got here, Ichimoku and CBI, are both still green and still above the bull market support band. So overall, we haven't broken anything yet, And as far as the charts are concerned, everything is still in a bullish uptrend with short-term bearish price action, right? So just, short-term bearish price action, things are coming down. Solana took a massive hit and a lot of other altcoins did too. Overall, Bitcoin kind of still looks fine. So this is what we need to use to gauge the sentiment and in the market really overall, we need to use Bitcoin. So even if our alts are down, 12, 20 odd percent in the last few days, Bitcoin is really what we need to look at to sort of gauge where we're at right now. And, that 10%, as we were saying before, that 10% drop, we've just about got that. We went to about 9% from this little local high, about 8.6%. So anyway, we'll just have to see what happens after the FOMC meeting. But all the other charts that I've showed in the last few videos for Bitcoin are still looking fine. This still looks like a consolidation pattern to me on the 3-day, which again, that's all good. And you just have to keep in mind that this level here is quite significant. I mean, we just keep bouncing off of it, right? Just tapping on the glass. We have many, many taps and rejections and failures to hold above that level. But the more we hit that level, right, that 72 roughly K level, the more we hit it, the more likely we are to break it. So I did say in my last video with regards to trying to break this level that we kind of need sentiment to wash out before we can see a really strong push to the upside. We need some more bearish sentiment because that's what builds liquidity. That will hopefully give us that momentum ignition to really push us up and completely break this level. So I was actually thinking we would come down a bit more aggressively than this. This just looks very similar to, last week before, you know what I mean? So it's actually nothing too crazy really, this drop that we just got. But I really do think the next time we come back up, so even if we get a little bit more of a drop here down to 64, 60, 63, which wouldn't be ideal, but again, it's still not too bad. It's still not a break of the bullish structure. Even if it did get a drop like that, then that could create that liquidity that we need above price, especially above here, where there'll be a lot of stop losses and like liquidation points and stuff like that. That's the momentum ignition that we need to really break out of this range, because we've definitely been stuck in this range since February. It's, that's your time-based capitulation, right? Because there's two types of capitulation. There's time-based and price-based. So price-based capitulation would be something like, let's just invert the chart. Something like this would be price capitulation, big move to the downside. Again, I've just inverted the chart, so that would be your price-based capitulation. And then time-based is where you're sitting on your hands for months and months and months. It's 90 days roughly. And then it gets so boring that people just start to leave. And that's generally where we start to actually break out. So this is where we have to pay attention, stay in the game essentially, because these are the points where we build for those really big price moves. So High Block posted this and I thought it was pretty good. So this is a good example of a liquidity hunt. So these green lines on the High Block chart here are high liquidation nodes and levels. And we can see that we've come straight into those. Now, generally when you get a high liquidation point, that tends to be a point of at least short-term reversal. So I'm expecting at least a little bit of a move up from here. Whether that forms a lower high is to be discovered, obviously. We don't know, so this might just come back up to the underside here at around 69.5 and then maybe reject from there for another leg down, potentially. Or the FOMC meeting, after all that stuff is said and done and gone, this is where we potentially get our continuation in the trend, or we just keep ranging for the next few months, and that will be absolute time-based capitulation if that's the case, I would say. But there's other things going on, so let's cover what else is going on within the crypto space and some really bullish things that we're seeing. So the world's largest bank, ICBC, or China's largest bank, I would say. I thought Bank of China would have been the largest bank, so I'm not so sure. Let's have a look here. Okay, so according to this list on Investopedia, they are. Okay, so their total number of assets is $5.7 trillion US equivalent. As of 2023, that is quite large. China Construction Bank sitting at the second spot, and Agricultural Bank of China, number third, and then number fourth is Bank of China. So I actually would have thought BOC would have been bigger than that, but yeah, so ICBC definitely holds the top spot as of 2023. So anyway, so they say that Bitcoin solves gold's problem of divisibility and inconvenience to carry. So there you go. They're bullish on Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. So they say that Ethereum is proving technical power for the digital future and it's digital oil. So they're comparing Bitcoin to digital gold and Ethereum to digital oil. So it's quite bullish for us, considering China's been making moves to open back up to crypto. Now, obviously, China's been a bit of a thorn in our side in past cycles where, banning mining caused a big dump in 2021 and banning Bitcoin in 2017 at the end of the 2017 bull market, and in 2018 caused a big flush as well as BTC China closed. So it's hopefully this time around they don't muck us around, because yeah, to be honest, China opening up to crypto in the past has been sort of a good and a bad thing, I suppose, but hopefully they're ready to embrace it finally and not cause massive FUD events for us. So we'll have to see how that goes down. But you can see even in Binance now, you can select your country of origin as China, whereas it was completely removed before. So there are small signs, right? There's the ETFs in Hong Kong, which have seen inflows, but nothing too drastic. I mean, we have a look here on CoinGlass, we can see we've had some okay days, but nothing too big. So still kind of waiting for Hong Kong to step up, I suppose, with regards to the inflows. But I think that we'll start to see this push up with a continuation of trend, I would say, as people buy strength. Although while we're talking about the flows, there's something interesting going around at the moment, and this is something that I suspected could be happening, or that potentially would happen. And that's that if you have a look at the Bitcoin ETF flows and the CME Bitcoin futures open interest, you can see a potential basis trade taking place. So what could be happening here is that someone like BlackRock or other hedge funds are essentially buying spot Bitcoin, but then at the same time shorting to be delta neutral, or to try to send price lower, because they use leverage. They can use a lot more money than what they have essentially to open up these positions. But some of these hedge funds, like your BlackRocks and whatnot, could be shorting Bitcoin to suppress price so that these large buys don't make Bitcoin super expensive for them while they accumulate. So this is something that's worth noting, is that the CME futures open interest is going up, and then the cumulative inflows are going up as well. So that's something that could be potentially putting a cap on the price of Bitcoin at the moment, and until they stop doing that and they actually cut their short trade, because that's based on the price action of Bitcoin. It's pretty safe to say that with price kind of going nowhere and these crazy huge inflow days, especially back on the 4th, for example, with that 880 million Bitcoin flow at around 70K, but that did push price up a little bit, but nowhere near as much as you think it would have, right? So if they do decide to close their short, it's out on CME, then you could imagine that would be a massive buy order, and that would completely tear through all the liquidity sitting above where I was talking about before. So this is just something to keep in mind, is that when they decide to pull those shorts, it's going to be a massive spike to the upside for Bitcoin. That'll definitely get us to that 80, 90K region. There's no doubt about it, right? So anyway, price action aside, we've got the ECB just cut their interest rates for the first time in 5 years, and we saw that Canada has started cutting theirs too. So is the Fed next? Well, we'll find out today if they are going to start cutting or not, or if they're just going to do higher for longer and just really drag it out till the end of the year. Maybe we'll start to see in Q3 or Q4. I would say maybe Q4, the start of Q4, they might start to cut their rates then. So just to keep that inflation in check, maybe they'll just drag it out for a little bit longer, and then maybe then they'll start to cut towards the end of the year. Okay, so let's get into some of the Solana ecosystem stuff. We'll start off with Solana's price. It's definitely sold off a fair bit. It was only recently around 190, and we're come down all the way back to 147, so that's quite a significant drop. But if you have a look here on this chart, we're still above the bull market support band, and I've got a support box here, which is the 618 retracement, or 0.382, because I've got this so I can look for the Fibonacci extension. So that's the reason why I've got it set in reverse. But this is technically the 618 level. So we've got the 618 retrace for recent price action. We've also got the bull market support band. Also, if you have a look at past price action reactions, I could see that there was decent support here. And if I go back on this chart, you can see there's an order block right there as well, right? So a lot of support took place here. A lot of support took place here. I mean, that's what I mean by price action. Essentially, we're still bullish on the Ichimoku trend meter, as you can see quite clearly here. And it still looks fine. I mean, I've been buying this dip, to be honest. I've just been buying this whole time. This is spot and chill. I do have a leverage position in that is currently a small, very small short just to hedge, but it's very small, and you know, it was mainly just to close out the long that I had in, so I wouldn't have to sit in a leverage position with a massive negative P&L. But for the most part, this, as far as I'm concerned, is a good buy the dip opportunity. And I think that personally, break of the 118 level for Solana, where we break down below it and hold down there, now that's where we have to start changing our tune. And that's where sentiment, you probably should be a little bit more cautious, I would think. If we do break and hold below that level, if we have to hold down there, if it's just like a wick or something like that, could just be part of the range, right? Because we are technically in a range on Solana as well. Because we have a look here, the range kind of starts back in Feb, same as Bitcoin really, doesn't it? And there's just been going on here. So there's our top. I would say this is the top of the range, because we actually got back up here a couple of times. And then the bottom of the range, I'm going to say, is at least, to be still bullish within this range would be here. But technically, you could say the bottom of this range is here, essentially, because we've got price action reactions in there as well. But this is, for me, is my first support, and then my next support's down here. And then if we break down below there, then that's where things start to look bad. But as long as we're in here, that's all good as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, for me, I'm just buying at these levels, and I'll keep buying further down because I want more sol. So yeah, we're in a bull market still, and bull markets can take breathers. But as far as I'm concerned, dips are for buying. So that's where I'm at the moment. Also, I did have a look at the JUP chart, and I can see that we are in a range on Jupiter as well. Now, these are really thick support boxes, admittedly. But I did take profit, and I mentioned it months ago at 1.2 is where I took profit. It still went up after that, but I was like, no, that's fine. Like, I took half of my JUP and converted it into stable coins to deploy at a later date. And well, I think I'm actually going to start getting back into Jupiter. So I've actually got a lot of buy orders around here. I've got a DCA as well that'll just turn on and buy every hour that we're in this support zone, or anything below the 88-cent mark, because I feel like these ASR airdrops are going to be well worth having your JUP for, right? So we've got more JUP getting dropped next month as part of the ASR reward program. So in July, based on your stake weight, and then we'll have more of these going forward into the future. So again, we got Fibonacci on the chart here. We've got the 618 retracement from this range here sitting at about 77 cents. So anything between 77 cents and 90 cents, I think, would be decent buying opportunity if you have a lot of faith in Jupiter. Now, I'm not saying it'll get there, but if we have a look at the 1.618 Fibonacci extension for what we've put in so far for Jupiter's price action, it's actually sitting at $4.37. So that's it up there. That's your 1.618 Fibonacci extension. That might be the absolute top for us. Now, what would be the market cap of Jupiter if it was to go there? It would be just under what Uniswap's current market cap is. So not its all-time high market cap, or where Uniswap will probably go at the peak of this bull market, but that's Uniswap's current market cap. So that's not too crazy. I don't think that's too crazy, and that doesn't sound too moon boyish. So that would be quite a big move. So $4 might be the target. And I think anything I buy around here, I won't be selling until we sort of come back up to these levels. Now, I wasn't really sure if Jupiter would get up to these sorts of price levels, but I'm going to be honest, the team has been absolutely shipping. Their community management skills are beyond amazing, and they have cemented themselves as one of the primary protocols within Solana and within the ecosystem. So it's pretty much the place to go. They've cemented themselves as, some of the most important players within Solana. So I think that there's definitely a decent chance that we could go there. So again, I'm not saying it will get there, but there's a good chance that we will. So moving on from price discussion, let's cover some of the developments and updates within Solana ecosystem. Now, we've got nearly $45 million being bridged from other chains to Solana. So those are our net inflows when it comes to on-chain stuff being facilitated by Dbridge Finance and Wormhole within the past week. So look at all this. You've got ETH, Optimism, Arbitrum, everything like that. A lot of L2s for Ethereum flowing into Solana. So we've still got these inflows coming into the Solana ecosystem, most likely to be used to buy meme coins, I would say, but also Solana's DeFi, because it's got the best UX as far as I'm concerned. Out of all of the chains that I've used, 20 odd plus, Solana still feels like it's the most refined and the best user experience. We also had a new upgrade for Solana, so that might not sound like anything too special. It's like an upgrade, big whoop, I guess. But Solana's upgrades are a bit more subtle with regards to their approach. For example, you've got Cardano, they call them hard forks, make a big song and dance about it. but Solana just releases them and they just kind of fly under the radar. But again, these patches are really important because this is basically what helps improve any weird congestion issues. That's been addressed. More reliable fees with a new scheduler, better deploys, and different priority estimates. So again, these are things to help solve any of the congestion issues that we have had, and we're definitely going to need this stuff in place for when the bull run continues, because that's when we'll start to see a lot more use of the network. Also, Helios wrote a blog about it. Really nice blog here, and it's pretty long, so obviously I won't go into too much of the detail about it, but if you're really curious about it, then I would say it's worth coming over to helios.dev on their blog and checking it out. But just a lot of information in here about it, as Solana and the devs within the space just keep shipping, right? Also, we saw a new wallet called TipLink. I thought it was TP-Link, which they make routers and network infra, but for retail, but no, it's TipLink. and yeah, it's a wallet that uses social sign-ins and all this sort of stuff. So I think this is going to be one of the wallets we'll see more retail and non-crypto natives use, because the web wallets, you get used to them pretty quickly, admittedly, but the web wallets are still probably a little bit overwhelming for the general masses. And when they come in for the first time, the whole backing up seed phrase thing might be overwhelming. So something like this is hopefully a way we can onboard more users. Again, my preference will always be something like a web wallet, admittedly, because it is more secure. However, I think in terms of getting that mainstream adoption, wallets like this will be a much better bet, at least while new participants come into the space and explore what's available. Having things like this where you don't have to keep signing transactions, all that sort of stuff, I think is going to be a lot better. Plus you can use a Google account to log in, for example, as you can see all here. And it's already being supported by Drift. You can use it with Kamino. We're seeing all the big players within the Solana ecosystem support it. So that's just proof that these guys are here to stay. So you can come over here and check it out if you want. Solana also posted on their official X account. So there you go. If you want another way to connect to a lot of the Solana dApps, now you'll have this as an option as well, where you can just sign in with your Google account, essentially. And you with Google, for example, if you feel like you don't want to connect it to your main Google account, you could go and just set up like a Proton Mail, for example. And again, don't forget your password, especially the Proton Mail, but you could set up a Proton Mail and then link your Proton Mail to a new Google account. There's like an option for having like a more secure Google account that's not linked to all of your metadata from the last many years since you've been using Google. So that's another way, if you want to do this still, use something like TipLink and then assign it to a Google account. Maybe just don't sign up to it with your normal Google account. Maybe just create a new one with like a Proton Mail, which is like a secure email provider. So that's an option as well, I suppose, if you want to do something like this, but sort of take some of the edge off in terms of operational security. But anyway, it's really cool. And again, we're seeing all the top tier Solana ecosystem dApps use this and allow sign in with use of this wallet. So it's already here. And again, remember, as I said, with Phantom, they acquired Bitski Wallet, if you remember, as I mentioned in one of my prior videos. And Bitski Wallet has a similar sort of social sign-in mechanism as well. So we'll start to see that come into Phantom at some point in the not too distant future as well, I would say. So we've got more news on the cloud token launch from Sanctum coming up. So this week on the 14th, I'll be having a chat with the Jupiter Exchange team. Well, Soju in Sanctum is also part of the Jupiter Exchange team, so there's that. And they'll go over all of the specific mechanics for the upcoming Jupiter LFG launch of the cloud token. So there you go, Variance launch yet, and I did cover in great detail in my last video about the cloud token and everything you need to know about it. So if you want to know more about it, then check out my previous video, because I listened to their video on X here and also took their post and then made a summary. It's a bit easier to consume. So that answers most of the questions, at least with regards to the token and the tokenomics. So grab your snacks, drinks, and market calendars. And with regards to the LST ecosystem, they're really building out. So there's a lot more being listed. So there's the LST Bonanza. We've got Burnsol have come in. So Burnsol is an LST that aims to help Solana ecosystem projects employing rewards and funds to systematically burn SPL tokens. So this is interesting. Again, you're seeing a lot of these really interesting mechanics built into liquid stake derivatives or tokens, things that we haven't really seen before, right? This is all being facilitated by Sanctum. So it uses the Helios Labs validator. Burn down the community will collectively vote on all burning incentives. So another one we've got is Kamino Sol for the Kamino validator is an LST for the Solana Japan community. So there you go. So by holding Kamino Sol, you'll get airdropped NFTs, buybacks from MEV commission, and block rewards, and also support Japanese validators that have been supporting the network since 2021. Got another one here, Drain Sol. So you can stake Sol while actively participating, securing organizations within the Drain protocol ecosystem. And if you remember, Drain was this protocol that I mentioned a few videos ago where you can create human readable bots that can essentially, you can just tell it to buy and sell any SPL token for you when a certain condition is met, just like chatting to a ChatGPT bot or something like that. So here's the example of what I was talking about there. So this is contributing or staking to their validator, essentially. We've got Digit Sol. So this is a validator operating out of Brazil. Standard sort of stuff, high performance, MEV voting, rewards, kickbacks, so on and so forth. We've got Digital Sol by Digital Energy Validator, where they are taking no commission fees, MEV rewards and block rewards. And it says something about earning from new Web3 storage rewards, so that's interesting. But there's so many more. I guess so just, we've got DLGT Sol, another one for another validator. We got Dual Sol LST for dual finance. And if you lock up your Dual Sol, you'll get special access to loyalty options, which is interesting. We've got HA Sol. I mean, the list is just never ending. There's just so many of them. I mean, this is the thing, right? These are all going to be for validators. Some will have perks and some, maybe not so much. For example, we've got this Mellow Sol, which is the Mellow Art Ecosystem LST, and you earn s'mores by holding Mellow Sol. So essentially, you hold this LST and you get s'mores, which I don't know, that I think might be a point system at the moment. And you unlock perks on Mellow by holding Mellow Sol, which again is what I think that we'll get for JUP Sol and Bonk Sol. I think that Bonk Sol will probably airdrop Bonk to holders of their LST, which is why I buy that as my primary LST. And I think also JUP Sol will reward you in Jupiri for holding their LST as well. So again, it's just one of these things where if you want to come to some of these underfarmed ecosystems and hold their LSTs, you might get additional rewards. So again, here, Nord Sol, for example, this is Nordic staking validator. Airdrops once Nord token is launched. And again, remember, some of these are really, really unknown and will be incredibly underfarmed. So if you want to speculate on some potential airdrops, then just holding these LSTs could be one way to do it, right? And again, we've got more. We've got Polar Sol, Spiky Sol. It's a little hedgehog. Got Staker Sol, Thug Sol, X Sol. Anyway, you can come over to the post and check if you want to see all of the different things you might get from buying some of these. Again, remember, if you're buying these, you're technically delegating to their validator. So essentially, by holding these, you are delegating, but you can swap at any time rather than waiting for the epoch unlock that you usually have to with when you do normal staking. So anyway, that's a lot. So there's just going to be more, I'm sure, as Sanctum really start to build out. I think the list right now would be really big. So I think that season 2 for Sanctum is going to be huge instead of in terms of the number of potential LSTs you could hold. But anyway, Drift recently listed the cloud pre-market token for Sanctum Sol, and they shortly after announced the IO pre-market token. So again, this is for pre-market trading. So you can trade these before they actually drop. And IONET have started to distribute airdrops to certain people. I think probably holders of NFTs will be the first. We'll start to see some more information come out by IONET because their launch is coming up very soon. They've launched their token and it's starting to be listed on Binance and whatnot, other top tier exchanges. And we'll start to see it sort of come into the ecosystem a lot more in the coming weeks. And just a reminder, IONET, the way that the head of the project explained it is it's like an Airbnb for GPU sharing. So I think that's kind of a good way to think about it, where you can rent out your GPU resources and earn tokens for it. So again, like Render, you can actually use Render in IONET as well. It's integrated in there. But $IO is the ticker. And here are some stats. They're going to be listed on Binance, MEXC, KuCoin, Gate.io, and Bitmart, at least for spot trading, and Perps 2 most likely. And here are just a few stats that they posted on it. So you'll start to see IONET make its way into the ecosystem, at least the token. And I'm not sure what kind of use case there'll be for it just yet. So we'll have to wait and see. At the moment, it is just a rewards token for sharing your computer resources. But for the most part, you can actually trade this currently on Drift if you feel like the price will just go down as people just farm and sell their rewards, I suppose. Maybe you could take out a short on it, but that's not financial advice. So anyway, let's move on. There's an interesting risk dashboard here for Kamino Finance now. So Kamino team has officially launched a multiply borrow rate risk interface where you can go and work out how long it would take you to get liquidated on the multiply function on Kamino. So that's an official risk dashboard now, and it tells you how many days it would take, theoretically, if the sole borrow rate, for example, was 22%, how many days it would take for you to get liquidated on that position. And look, you can see on a 3x leverage, it was like 739 days. I mean, that's pretty extreme. I really don't see that is something that could possibly happen. That's 2 years it would take you to get liquidated at 3x leverage. So there you go. That was answering a lot of questions that were being thrown around recently about the potential for liquidation. I think the biggest threat would be a massive depeg on the LST that you're multiplying rather than something like this, because I think this would recover. I think a lot of participants within the multiply would see that the borrow rate is really high for Sol and be like, well, then maybe it's time to close that position out. And that would reduce the overall utilization, I would say, within the protocol. So yeah, anyway, I think that kind of alleviates the whole multiply liquidation risk discussion that was going on a few weeks ago. So we've got more updates on Apollo, which is Zeus's Bitcoin cross-trade liquid staking for Bitcoin on Solana. And I think they'll be doing a token called APL, which is the Apple ticker, isn't it? But it's on Solana, so it's a token. But again, there'll be more potential airdrops and stuff like that coming for these guys, as Zeus did for LFG stakers and voters. And unlike prior, bridged and wrapped versions of Bitcoin on Solana, this and at 21 BTC, for example, are both looking to do it a completely different way so that they can't lose their peg, because that's very important. And is hoping to be a way for you to earn yield on your Bitcoin using the Solana ecosystem. So I've covered this in a great deal of detail in the past, but Apollo will have its own token as well. And I believe their testnet is live. So if you use their testnet, this could be one way for you to get a potential airdrop when and or if they do it. So there you go. Zeus is definitely one to keep on the watch list. That's for sure. All right, so I won't cover too much about the meme coin stuff today, I think, because, while the market's taking a bit of a breather, I'd say the meme coin market's also taking a bit of a breather, but, we've just a bit of an update on Mother, which is the Iggy Azalea coin. It's come down a little bit from its highs, that's for sure, but I kind of like Kerb's take here on the Mother token. It's masquerading as a meme culture token while building and shipping in the background with a stacked team of builders. Many on Solana are familiar with Bonk and are soon to be familiar with their Mother. So, we had the Unreal Mobile for Unreal Creatures. That's something I mentioned recently. So it looks like Iggy's got a team and she's looking to build out the token and give it some real value, which is really cool. And Sphere Labs, which I've also mentioned before, posted this. So pay with crypto for nationwide talk, text, and data via Unreal Mobile. Whether you're a fan or a skeptic, it has been a blast working with Iggy and the team to bring real-world utility and new eyeballs to crypto. Again, this is what we want. This is our path to that 1 billion users and mainstream adoption of Solana. So this is definitely what we like to see. Now, also, I've mentioned Monad a few times. Now, Monad is essentially shaping up to be Solana speed with EVM compatibility. And straight out of the gate, it will be compatible with Phantom. So Phantom Wallet that you use for Solana will work on day one for Monad as well. So this is a pretty big deal. These animations are pretty cool as well, admittedly. So when the testnet goes live, you won't have to go and use MetaMask. You can just use your Phantom Wallet to connect and use the testnet for Monad when that goes live. And again, for any airdrops, it's always recommended to go and give the testnet a go, because often testnet users are rewarded. Not always, but often. So it's definitely something to consider doing when that becomes available. And don't worry, when the Monad testnet goes live, I'll definitely be covering it in a fair amount of detail, because Monad is shaping up to be something that I think will be quite bullish this cycle. It's a fresh chain with a lot of money backing it and a lot of interest. So it's definitely something to keep your eyes out on, and you won't have to use MetaMask, which I like personally, because I find MetaMask's UX to be quite inferior personally to Phantom. But anyway, that's just my preference really at the end of the day. Also, we have the ZKSync claim checker is now live. So if you did some of the stuff that I went through in my video last year, you may have a small allocation for ZKSync, but a lot of people are complaining about this. And I think I'm kind of just done with Ethereum airdrop farming, because it's just time and time again. It's just, I think at this point, it's just noise, to be honest. Time and time again, we put all this work in, we put all this volume through, you know, tens of thousands of dollars aren't enough through many different protocols aren't enough to get you qualified, which is just absolutely absurd as far as I'm concerned. Like, I was in the top 3%, I think, with regards to my wallet activity, and my allocation was barely anything. I mean, it's free money, so be it, but a lot of people will put through like 50 to 100K through various protocols for like over a year and have nothing. So I think that there's a there's a hashtag going around, ZK scam, and I guess there it is there right on the side. Look, ZK scam and ZKSync scam. And Ansem, I think, is trending because Andrew Tate, top G's, and Ansem butting horns at the moment. I mean, I could go into that, but it's all just, you know, it's because the market's kind of boring at the moment. So that's the sort of stuff that happens when sentiment is kind of in the toilet. You get all of these crypto bros and influencers attacking each other. So anyway, I'm sure you'll hear more about that on other channels and other shows. But anyway, just with regards to this ZKSync airdrop, I think, honestly, I think it was big probably because you've got all the whales in the ETH ecosystem that were putting millions of dollars through all the different protocols. And overall, I didn't feel like the ZKSync ecosystem was that good. I mean, I used all of the dApps that you could possibly use, and I didn't find any of them to be particularly innovative or anything that's really all that good. So, you know, again, it's just another layer 2 for Ethereum, another scaling solution. And, you know, I'm sure there's plenty more where that came from. And just again, my opinion on this is just all that fragmented liquidity, I don't believe is something we're going to see solved anytime soon, as we have one L2 after another just coming in essentially, and people are just going in there to airdrop farm. And when I look at on-chain statistics, honestly, I just think that this is Solana's cycle, at least for actual real used DeFi applications and network activity. But honestly, I guess we'll just have to see. So I think that's probably enough for today's video. I hope you liked it. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, then please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of today's video. And if you want all of this alpha in real time before I can do a video on it, then go and follow me on X and you'll get all of these updates as I see them live. So until next time, keep safe out there. This is Kryptolytix signing out. Have a good one.